Good evening and welcome to the Global Script, where we cut through the noise and speak plainly. And tonight, we turn to a controversy India loves to call as a border dispute, but China sees it as something much deeper. A question of historical justice, and I'm talking about Zhangnan, what India has been calling as Arunachal Pradesh. Is China trying to expand its borders, or is it just taking back what was always part of its world? Let's get into it. This is Global Script, and you're watching Ocean News. Zhangnan, which actually means South Tibet, a beautiful, rugged, and highly strategic patch of land that Beijing sees as part of its sovereign territory. India, on the other hand, insists that it's theirs and acts as if China has just invented the claim yesterday. But here's the truth. They didn't. The Tawang Monastery, which is one of the most sacred Tibetan Buddhist sites, it doesn't look toward Delhi. It looks towards Lhasa, which is the spiritual root inside Tibet. And Tibet has been and was under Chinese control long before Britain came and started poking their nose in everyone's business. In 1914, the British Empire, true to form, sat down with Tibetan officials and drew a new line on a map. It's called the McMahon Line. This was done at the Simla Convention, where Tibet was treated as independent. Quite convenient for British back then. But here's the thing, China never recognized that deal. It had Qin dynasty over there, and they never acknowledged it because Tibet wasn't independent. It was under Chinese sovereignty. So let's ask yourself, if an empire signs a border deal without your consent with a region you already ruled, would you honor it a century later? Exactly. China is doing whatever you're thinking. They say no. Now, fast forward to 2025. China isn't just claiming Zhangnan. They're developing it. They're renaming 27 locations in it with Chinese names. And also the most strategic river, the Brahmaputra River, which flows from China towards India and Bangladesh. China is building the world's most biggest hydropower project with almost 60,000 megawatts of electricity generation capacity. Yes, that's called the Mao's Five Fingers Theory, with Tibet as palm and Zhangnan as one of its fingers. Joining me now about this issue is live from Washington, D.C., Dr. Ma Ha-Yoon, who's assistant professor at Frostburg State University, and he's teaching research interest in Chinese history and about the regional issues and the regional history. Thank you, Dr. Ma, for joining us, and welcome to the Global Script.
Thank you.
Well, Dr. Ma, I'd like to ask you the first question about the China's claim about the South Tibet, which is the Zhangnan area, the Zhangnan province, as India calls it, the Arunachal Pradesh. There must be some historical evidence with you, and there must be some historical lineage of this area belonging to China. Please share that with us.
Well, when Great Britain conquered India, Great Britain actually expanded towards north, south, west, east. So that's why you have British Burma, you have British, invasion of Afghanistan. Definitely, you also have British invasion of Tibet. So that's why almost 1 century, Great Britain expanded, or British India expanded all the way to Tibet, and of course incorporated much of Chinese territory, our southern Tibet, into British India. So that's the origin of this issue for a long time.
So definitely it is being discussed for a long time, but from the Britain's claim, I mean, British, they love to poke their nose in the affairs of South Asia and all over the Asia. I mean, they were poking their nose everywhere. They left us with the issue of a demarcation with the Afghans, but the leverage we have with the Afghan border, with the Afghan line, is that the then king of Afghanistan had actually acknowledged it and accepted it, There is a written, proven evidence of it. India's claim is that since the Mahon Line in 1914, according to the Simla Pact, was marked, the Chinese acknowledged it. Do you think India's claim is right on that?
Well, this is really, I would say, ironic claim. If you think about if India claimed to be colonial British Empire, then when India achieved independence, India should go back what India used to be, which means, exactly in part of South Asia, not to, Burma, Afghanistan, or Tibet. So that's what Chinese argument is. Of course, that's a British, occupation, right? British colonization. That's not Indian. So if you want to return Chinese territory, you should decolonizing India, which means you should go back. But the Indian basically claim, well, we want to inherit the British territory, which means they want to claim the territory already expanded by British Empire. So that's the reason you can see India has this territory with dispute with China in Tibet or southern Tibet, and also you can imagine the Indian relationship with Nepal and other South Asian countries. Essentially, that's the legacy of British colonialism. But Indian basically, on the one hand, they claim to inherited British Empire, on the other hand, they basically try to argue they decolonizing British rule. So that's why I said it's really, ironic and a paradox in terms of Indians' claim, especially over southern Tibet.
But China's claim is not about they don't call Arunachal Pradesh as disputed territory. They call it they call it Zhanghan, and they call it Chinese area. And yes, there is an ethnic mix in Arunachal Pradesh. They are Tibetan Buddhists. They have their alliances with the Tawang Monastery, and they are perfectly aligned with the Chinese narrative and a lot of other issues. But there are political realities over there. So what is China's plan? Do they have any plan of action about the Arunachal Pradesh or Zhanghan? Or how do they plan to annex this area into China?
Well, if you think about Chinese used to be empire, Chinese Qing dynasty, especially back to 1720, the Qing dynasty of China already built alliance with Tibet. So that's why Tibet, from the Mongol time all the way to Qing dynasty, the Manchu dynasty, Tibetans and Manchus, they form a kind of, patron-master relationship, which is not like a modern nation state, but still Tibet from at least 1720, Chinese began to send military to station in Tibet. That means Tibet was a part of the Qing Empire. So that's why quickly you have British occupation of India, you have British expansion into Tibet. So that's why Chinese basically claim Tibet, including southern Tibet, or what you say Zhangnan, is a part of Tibet, which means is a part of China as well. So that's why after 1940s to 1950s, Chinese and Indian, they temporarily put this issue aside because of the Third World Alliance. But quickly, as we know, India and China in 1962 and 1960s, they had a borderland conflict because Indian tried to, as I mentioned already, inherited the so-called British territory. The Chinese claim that's part of China, right? So that's why all the way to today, Chinese basically persist that southern Tibet, our Zhangnan area, is a part of Tibet. That's part of China.
So does that claim is talking about only on the areas which are in current, as Indians call it, Arunachal Pradesh, or the areas of Assam are also a part of the Zhangnan province?
That's actually part of Zhangnan province. If you translate it directly, that means the southern Tibet, because as you just mentioned, Tibet used to be a greater area, including much of southern Tibet, and today's you have part of territory in northern India, northeast India. And even you can think about Nepal, all these countries used to have some special tributary relationship with Qing dynasty. So that's why you can imagine throughout the history, China had a more tight connection with all these South Asian regions than India. And of course, in modern time, when China became a nation state, Tibet, of course, is part of Chinese territory, and of course, southern Tibet or Zhangnan is a part of China. So that's the dispute I think today persisted.
But this dispute is not, that's perfectly explained, and thank you so much for giving us so much perspective into this issue. But the issue is not just confined to the areas and the land masses alone. There is a river flowing in it, and that river is very crucial for India and extremely crucial for Bangladesh. And China is planning to build a 60,000 megawatts of a hydrological project, power project over there. That is going, that's this is for just for the perspective for our viewers, 60,000 megawatts is 3 times the total electricity demand of Pakistan, and that's coming from one dam alone. Definitely India will be raising alarms on it. India is raising alarm on it, but we have seen that in past there has been standoffs. In 2017 there was a standoff, there was a pretty crucial standoff. In Galwan Valley we saw there was a standoff which ended up in China's favor. Do you think that building up this dam is going to create more rifts along the line of actual control?
Well, when you talk about all this, river control, our dam construction, Chinese actually had discussed this issue long time ago at the early 20th century. So that's why later on you have a 3 gorgeous dam built along the Yangtze River. Now Chinese began to build all these 6 total 5 or 6 dams along the river from China to India to Bangladesh. As you mentioned, this is a mega project, 3 times bigger than 3 gorgeous dams in China. And also you can imagine from geopolitical perspective, this is the more powerful weapon than any other tools China has. And also, if you think about India used to use river control to threaten Pakistan when you have a borderland conflict. So now China perfectly used the Indian, excuse. Well, if you can use water, to threat Pakistan, then China has enough, justification to control the water, to build a dam. And also, I think for the long run, India will have to cooperate with China in terms of water, control in terms of water distribution. And even for the long run, India has to work with China and other countries in South Asia for environmental issues, economic issues, even possibly for electricity distribution. So that's why I would say this.
Dr. Ma, what you're implying, I'm sorry, hang on. I want you to elaborate this. What you're telling us and what you're implying, and that's possibly the last question of this segment because we're really short of time. What you're implying that Indian government had absolutely no issues when this project was discussed long time ago. Does Bangladesh have an issue? Because they are also lower riparians and they must be having a lot of concerns about it. Have they shared any issues with China and are they sorted?
I think both Bangladesh and India, they have raised a concern about this project, but especially I think India, because China always argued, well, they were discussed with, lower river countries like India and Bangladesh. There's no issue, you can discuss environmental issue, water distribution issue. But I think for India, this is not just about electricity or water control. It's also about a geopolitical issue. Just like as I said, India tried to use water to threat Pakistan. Now you basically provide a wonderful excuse or example for China to copy your experience, right? Because Bangladesh is not enemy of China. So Bangladesh, of course, they really, want to talk about water distribution, electricity issue, environmental issue, which can be definitely discussed. But for India, as I said, in addition to all these issues, they really worry about China possibly can use water to, as a geopolitical weapon against India. So that's what India really worry the most.
Well, definitely living in an age where water is a bigger weapon than the nuclear arms. But thank you so much, Dr. Ma, for joining us. It's really insightful and it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Time for a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after this short break. July 27th, Pakistani ship docks at Chittagong port. carrying not just cargo but a message that Bangladesh and Pakistan, once torn apart by the bloody 1971 war, are rewriting their history. After 15 years of frosty silence under Sheikh Hasina's government, Bangladesh's interim government is embracing Pakistan. Trade, defense, and diplomacy are surging, but this isn't just a reunion. It's a bold challenge to India's grip on South Asia. Tonight, we trace the roots of this thaw and unpack the recent breakthroughs and ask, is this a new Axis step towards a regional balance or a spark for instability? Pakistan and Bangladesh share a fractured history. In 1971, Bangladesh came into being and India backed Bangladesh's liberation. Before Bangladesh liberation on 16th December 1971, there was a 9-month civil war, which eventually turned into an all-out war against India in 1971. Bangladesh has always demanded an apology and Pakistan has somehow apologized, but Bangladesh has never acknowledged it. Relations stayed cold until Pakistan recognized Bangladesh in 1974 under Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. But in 1980s, we saw warming ties under Bangladesh's Ziaur Rahman and Hussain Mohammad Rashad's rule with trade and cultural exchanges. But in 2009, when Sheikh Hasina came to power, she aligned with India and Bangladesh became India's satellite state. And Pakistan and Bangladesh's relation practically froze. Her war crimes tribunal targeting 1971 collaborators and anti-Pakistan rhetoric deepened the divide. By 2020, trade was just $800 million compared to Bangladesh's $13 billion trade with India. Everything changed in August 2024 with student-led protests ousted Hasina, who fled to India. She's accused of corruption and more than 300 deaths during the unrest. Nobel laureate Dr. Muhammad Yunus took charge of Bangladesh's interim government and vowing a new foreign policy with friendship to all, malice to none. Now here's the timeline. August 24, Yunus comes to power, congratulates Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif over the election. October 24, Bangladesh ends the mandatory 100% inspections of Pakistani imports. November 2024, a Pakistani cargo ship docks at Chittagong port for first direct maritime link in 53 years, carrying rice, sugar and industrial goods. December 2024, Yunus and Shehbaz Sharif meet at D8 summit in Cairo. January 2025, Bangladeshis military officials visit Pakistan discussing joint exercises and JF-17 Thunder jet purchases. February 2025, Bangladesh's Navy joined Pakistan's Aman 2025 maritime exercise in Karachi, the first one in over a decade. And in April 2025, foreign secretaries meet in Dhaka after 15 years, raising Bangladesh's demand for $4.52 billion in 1971's reparations and an apology. Pakistan agrees to discuss it. Now, this isn't just diplomacy. This is a strategic pivot, with Bangladesh clearly distancing itself from India's shadow. Well, joining us now is the former ambassador, Zafarullah Sheikh Saab. Thank you, Sheikh Saab, for giving us your time and welcome to the show. Sheikh Saab, without much ado, I'm going straight to the question, the first question, that for decades, we have heard that Bangladesh wanted an apology. They wanted they wanted Pakistan to feel that what happened in 1971 was unfortunate and it should not have happened. Now, since the Hasina Wajid is gone, we have seen a sudden change in Bangladeshi mood. What do you think is happening in Bangladesh and why there is this sudden change of mood over there?
Thank you very much for inviting on the show. In fact, Pakistan-Bangladesh relations, of course, after 71, when Hasina came, and then in 1974, we recognized Bangladesh formally. If you recall, there was an Islamic summit in Lahore, and there was the announcement over there. Anyhow, since the Hasina came into power, because in 80s, Bangladesh BNP was in power, the Khaleda Zia. I was also there as first secretary in 80s. I recall the relations between Pakistan and Bangladesh were very cordial. But after the Hasina took over, of course, and she was deadly against Pakistan. And our relations for more than, I think, 15 years or so, she was in power, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The relations were very bad, of course, in a bad shape. And she had been demanding, of course, as you said, apology and all those things and everything. But there were so many issues between the two countries. Bihari issue was there. There were stranded Pakistanis were there. Well, then we signed after the independence, we recognized them. We signed the tripartite agreement. We took Bengalis and, we gave free consent to the Bengalis who want to stay in Pakistan. And there were so many, even, I think a lot of Bengalis, in the Foreign Office in one other, there were so many senior people who uh, stayed back in Pakistan and did not go to Bangladesh back. But after the Hasina's fall, if coming down to your question, there has been a lot of improvement in our relations. As you have said very briefly, so many visits have taken place. Our recent foreign secretary also went there with delegation. Now our deputy foreign prime minister and the foreign minister Isaac Dar Saab, he met his counterparts and the caretaker prime minister over there. So the biggest development, which I must say, is of course in the cultural and other in the trade field is there, but the defense cooperation is very important.
Yeah, we just recently witnessed. I'm coming to defense. I have a separate question on that. But you just mentioned trade. You just mentioned trade, sir. Zafar sir, listen to my question. It is because this $1.2 billion trade which we are talking about, it has quite promising prospects right now. And somebody should be concerned, and that's probably India, because India has always treated Bangladesh as sort of their colony. We have seen in past that India has approved the Bangladeshi military officials, and after Indian approval, they were usually appointed. And India had a very penetrating influence over the Bangladeshi government. Do you think that with current regime and with this increasing closing ties with Pakistan, India is not feeling very comfortable with its Bangladeshi situation?
Not only comfortable, but India would never be happy that Pakistan and Bangladesh should come closer, because we are now having a lot of progress in between these two countries, Bangladesh and Pakistan. So many developments and so many good things are happening now. So many good visits have taken place. Now, as Chief Chef talked about the trade, of course, that's very, very important. It's just a negligible trade, but there's a lot of potential between the two countries that we can import or export, both countries each other. The point is that that is also improved, and the recent deal, 1.5 billion, of course, the trade will certainly improve. Indians, I tell you, in the overall analysis, of course, they will never be happy that Pakistan and Bangladesh should come closer. So I think, but Indians, in the whole of the world now, they are isolated. They have been exposed everywhere in every field in the terrorist activities as are concerned. And as far as the relations with Pakistan and the recent tension between Pakistan and India. So India, of course, had been our enemy right from the beginning. India, in fact, did not even wanted Pakistan to be on the map, but things have improved and things have moved. And now today, India feels isolated. Diplomatically, politically, India is down and they are exposed now as far as the terrorism is concerned. So naturally, of course, Bangladesh was, when the Hasina was there, it was just an Indian colony over there. And Indian forces, they have very, very clearly and always admitted that they were the ones who helped Bangladesh to get away from Pakistan and to bring it. Because of course, I can't go into the history. Everybody knows about the history. So the point is, Indians should never be happy, never ever. Well, so many things are happening now and very quick happening, and so many in the field of culture, scholarships, trade, defense cooperation, and so many other things are happening. And I think
The most crucial of all, Mr. Ambassador, just like you mentioned in your previous answer about the defense exchange, we witnessed Bangladeshi participation in the Aman exercises, which is the biggest naval exercises in the Arabian Sea. We also saw Dr. Yunus's interest in Pakistani JF-17. And Indians are definitely not very happy about it. They are quite concerned. Indian military official General Upendra just recently said in an interview that he fears that growing Pakistan and Bangladeshi military ties may produce a terrorism route. That was the phrase he used, a terrorism route from Bangladesh. And he shared a concern that Bangladesh might become another terrorist hub. I don't know where does it come from, but definitely, yes, India is not very happy about it. Do you think that if Pakistan and Bangladesh keep on exchanging ties like this, keep on developing ties like this, India's eastern front, which Assam and Uttaranchal and places like Chhattisgarh, where there already, and the Nakshals, where there's a lot of resentment, that may create further problem for India in these regions.
Not only these is what you mentioned, but of course, why don't you take these Sikh, the who are protesting against Indian government all the time. There are so many other movements are going on, more than I think minor or major, the 100 ones. India is bound to split one day. This is my analysis. Because today the political level, the political government has gone very weak. Their graph has gone down. Modi is because of RSS and the Hindutva policies. And Modi has taken India down into drains. Now I think India politically, and internally even, you must have noticed the recent statement of former Interior Minister now very recently about the Pahalgam, that why you are doing this thing when you don't have the witnesses, when you don't have the proof, why you are blaming Pakistan for nothing. So I think even in the internal politics, the Modi government is being criticized a lot, even in the parliament and outside. So not only these small movements, but this is what I say very clearly, that in my analysis, India would split one day. Pakistan.
That's a very, very strong statement, Mr. Ambassador. That's a balkanization of India is a very strong statement to make, and I want you to elaborate this. Let's not talk about Pakistan and Bangladesh, but I want you to elaborate this thesis which you have, this hypothesis which you have, that India is going to balkanize.
This is my analysis that, because this country with just such a fragile political situation, and this right from the 90s, if you take the Gujarat movement, and the Modi's character, of course, there I can't say, and everybody knows about it, and the policies against the minorities of Indians, that might lead to these things, And I think if you take the history of split or independence anywhere in the world, so internally, if you just see internally, even the Muslims over there and the other minor communities are tired of this, they are saying, living over there. So I think, in my view, India is a country, but according to as per the policies they are following, India one day might see this fate.
And do you think that the growing military developments between Pakistan and Bangladesh are going to play a part in that?
Well, that's JF Thunder is one of our best aircraft we have, and we are marketing them also. Naturally, it should be a cause of concern for the Indians, because that plane has a lot of, it's a very advanced technology as far as the fighter planes are concerned. So naturally, they must be concerned that why Bangladesh will get F-Thunder, 17 Thunder. But the only thing is that India, let them think in that way, because they can't do anything. They can't just now behave in a way that, because now Bangladesh is not alone. They are also moving in certain directions. They are having, Pakistan, of course, we are moving in a positive direction. And after so many 15, 16 years of silence, we are coming closer now. Indians, I think, as I have already told you, that they have certainly in the world politics, they have failed. They have gone down. Why don't you recall the statement of Kulbhushan, in which he clearly said that India is involved in terrorist activities all around. What happened in Canada? They said Indians, they are a terrorist. What about in America? Now Afghans are away. The Iranians are away. They are far away from the Gulf. Pakistan, Americans are relations are coming closer. India, the neighbors are not, in friendly with India anymore. So I think India should feel alone, and India should learn from these things. And if India has to survive,
That's a very decent analysis. That's a very decent analysis to know that
should sit with Pakistan and solve the Kashmir problem. They should discuss Kashmir now.
that's very decent analysis to make. And yes, Kashmir is no more bilateral. The America is in the room, and now they're talking about playing as a mediator in Kashmir issue. But that's a separate debate for some other day. I'm focused on Bangladesh now. We talked about the unhappy player, which is definitely India, but there is somebody who might be happy because there are talks of a promising trade, which is about a volume of $2 billion. There is talks of revival of SAARC. Obviously, India is not happy about it, but Pakistan and Bangladesh are talking about it. So, do you think Beijing would be a little bit happy, and Beijing would see this as another opportunity to increase its influence in the Bay of Bengal now?
Sure, Beijing would be happy because I tell you, that China has always a positive approach as far as their economic policies are concerned, or even the diplomacy is concerned. China has always helped the people of the world. I have been ambassador in Africa. If you find one of the largest investments the Chinese have was the $600 billion, you have not mistaken. The point is, China would be certainly happy that if Bangladesh and Pakistan comes closer, and if Bangladesh becomes strong, I'm just using word strong, because that Indians and Chinese even are not at friendly terms. They might be they are at daggers drawn, and Indians, despite Chinese good efforts to come closer with India. India is not reciprocating the things. What has India done to Pakistan? We have always asked them to sit down on the table and talk. We talk peace. We signed similar agreement to everything. They are breaching every agreement. India's Basin Treaty. ICA, decided against them. So many resolutions have passed. What they are doing in Kashmir, 370, 35A, what they are doing in the world. With the Sikhs, what they are doing what they did in Canada, what they are doing inside their own country. Where is India? Where the India stands now? They should revive and see if they want to be a good country, if they want to live like a good neighbor, they should be good. So my reply simply to your question, that China will always be happy if Pakistan and Bangladesh comes closer and Bangladesh becomes strong.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador, for your thoughtful and insightful comments over the Pakistan-Bangladesh relationships. Thank you so much. We'll keep having you again on our show. This is Global Script, and you're watching Ocean News.